And the girls are off at Nike Cross Nationals 2009. And the temperature is at 30 degrees. We began today at 32. We've gone down 1 degree for the boys and another degree for the girls. Fireworks overhead.
But we are seeing the sun start to pop out a little bit here, and actually the frost has melted off. So we'll see if it gets a little bit better.
The frost is off the pumpkin.
Dathan, it does not feel any warmer, let me tell you.
Well, we have to say that Rich Gonzalez is the hero amongst us. And Dathan and I are we are as bundled up as we possibly can be, and Rich does not have a parka on.
He's tougher than we are.
Once again, Manlius cross country out of New York, three-peat champion, going for an unprecedented 4th in a row. And Rich, when you consider that they beat Kinetic Saratoga in a clean sweep at the state meet against the 3rd-ranked team in the country, they're going to be tough to beat out there. What will have to happen for a team to surpass them?
Really, I mean, I think the coaches from the other programs will tell you themselves that team may be untouchable if they are on. And for years now, they've never been off. So the question is, will any sort of bad luck strike Manlius in the race? Somebody going down, basically something to that effect. Otherwise, they are clearly the cream of the crop. A big deal was made of the 15 points at the New York State meet, but the writing was on the wall. At the Manhattan Invitational, Manlius had 4 girls in front of Kinetic's #1 at that meet as well.
Well, I think I see Eleanor Fulton up there. Molly Malone, number 90 from Manlius. She's one of our 4-time qualifiers from Manlius. If we export Courtney Chapman being right there.
And once again, Manlius is very easy to spot here. As defending champions, the team members are wearing the gold uniforms with the white trim. You see them on the right of your screen, and they have very much a front-of-the-pack presence right here.
And Eleanor Fulton wearing number 58. She was the Southwest champion. And once again, they seem to be well in control of themselves, Dathan, just like the boys. Nothing too excitable.
Yeah, there don't seem to be any early breakaways in the first couple minutes here. Sometimes people go out really, really aggressively, but they seem to be holding a pretty tight pack still.
It looks like we have 4 from Manlius in the top 12 at this point in time, coming up on the kilometer mark as they approach what's known as the East Bay, which is the worst part of the course this weekend. It is quite a bit of standing water on one of the curves and definitely plenty of mud, so it's definitely the most unpleasant portion of the course as it leads right into the whoop-de-doos.
157 to 158 from Adirondack. That's Brittany Winslow and Danielle Winslow. You know, Danielle was 4th here last year at NXN, but she's been injured through 2009 and hopefully returning to form here for the Nationals.
And Adirondack, once again, from Queensbury, another New York school. So New York, they just dominate this event. They are so strong, so tough, so battle-tested. What I feel bad for is the teams that are number 5 or 6 in that region, because when you go ahead and pound week after week, they have a hard time trying to hold on at the regional championship.
Dathan, you know, you're from Michigan. I mean, the man whose 5,000-meter record you broke this year, congratulations on that again, Bob Kennedy out of Indiana. It doesn't take people being from the Great Rift Valley and having these cardiovascular systems, you know, heightened by nature to be competitive. It should be the same thing. These girls from New York State just seem to rise. It's tradition, it's expectations of excellence,
and it's the synergy of the group as well. You know, those countries have trained in groups for so long, and you see that. Like when you have Manlius, they have this group that's been having great tradition for so long, and they just keep pushing each other and pushing each other.
And Rich, that does come to be a lot of it. You go in with an expectation of doing well, and you reach your expectation. If you don't know, there's that question. And that's the other thing, Dathan, is racing a lot about self-questioning, constant self-questioning.
It doesn't matter how confident you are, you always have doubts in your race at any point in this race. And so I think that's part of the training and discipline is to overcome those doubts.
Am I right? Am I wrong? Is this the right pace? Is it the wrong pace? Should have been going? Should have been holding back?
Yeah, and you know, you constantly question those things, and by the end of the season, hopefully you have those things figured out. But a lot of times you've gone over the edge because that mental barrier so it can only last for so long.
Is it true that you can't win a race early on, but it's easier to lose a race early than win a race early?
You can take yourself out very early in a race, that's for sure. But you know, I think if you let yourself get out of contention like that, or if you go out too hard, but you know, the hardest mental part of the race is definitely going to be the second half, and I think that's when you really have to hold it together and know whether or not you're confident and you know what you've done to get to that point.
We're up to 32 degrees, and once again, I want to remind everyone you can watch the main show, you can watch the lead camera, you can watch the second chase pack, and we will start having updates as Manlius crossed to 61 points. Kinetic, the other New York region, 255.
1, 2, 3 for
Adirondack, 3. Then Newhall from California. Pikes Peak and Wilmington out of Delaware, then Fort Collins and Rocky River, but 61, then 255, 285, 294. Just stunning, just stunning.
So New York trying to go for the sweep, 1, 2, 3. Very impressive here, beating a very good Newhall squad. Now Newhall, the number 1, Kelly Mahoney, she's coming in this race a little bit beat up. Coach almost didn't want to run her actually, but I'm sure she's in the lineup because she's a very, very driven competitor. And you know what? You have to give all the credit in the world to New York teams because, hey, on the big day, they show how strong they are, and they're all stepping up here, deservedly going 1, 2, 3.
Katie Flood, number 34, right up there in the lead, but Manlius, all those gold jerseys shining through. And I'm telling you, there was some question. Could Manlius beat the field in a dual meet?
You know, it's interesting because the best team we had in history so far was the 04 Saratoga team, which obviously, of course, won as Connecticut.
And they scored 51 points.
Right. Now, this is a little deeper field, regardless. You know, a lot of analysis shows that this group is at least as good, if not slightly better than that squad from Saratoga, which was a phenomenal squad that qualified 4 individuals on the Foot Locker that year. Just amazing group.
Number 90, Molly Malone in the lead. She's a senior out of Manlius, her 4th time at NXN. She was 63rd last year, and she's leading it this year with her Courtney Chapman teammate, who's a junior. It's her 4th time at NXN because in New York you can begin, 8th grade. So she was runner here in 8th grade, freshman, sophomore, junior. She'll be a 5-time runner at NXN if they qualify again next year.
If?
I know, it almost doesn't apply. But Manlius is just doing a job. You know, the fog is burned off, and it's 32 degrees, Nathan, maybe because we're excited about the competition, but there's no wind, and so the conditions for actually racing are excellent.
Yeah, you know, those things have to play all together, but if it was just warm up just another 5 degrees, I think it would make a huge difference. I think that's still holding you back, and we saw a slow start in the men's race, and the women's race is all packed together right now too, because sometimes when it's that cold, you're a little reluctant to go out really, really fast because you're not quite as warmed up.
Is it the same thing? It's just with almost any other sport. You just can't get loose. You just don't feel in a rhythm. You don't feel comfortable. We saw it in the Chicago Marathon. It was very, very cold, and those guys, they never found themselves.
Yeah, and when you're going to the effort of, like a 15 to 20 minute effort of these races is a very, very intense effort, and so you have to be really, really warmed up and ready to go.
And here we have our 2K split. Manlius cross country at 76. Kinetic still in 2nd. Newhall has moved in front of Adirondack into 3rd, so California making a move. 5th is Fort Collins, Rocky River, then Blacksburg, the 2nd place team out of that southeast region, and Pikes Peak, they're in 8th place.
So Manlius 76 points, the only team below 250, and that is total domination in this race.
Well, this was the expectation coming in, and they're living up to it. It's hard to imagine. What is it that Bill and John Harris do, Rich? Well, I went up and visited in year 1, and it really isn't. I mean, it's certainly not the water. It's not the weather. It's just purely you talk about all these coaches, and almost all the coaches say the kids buy into the program.
Well, they definitely do. It's definitely a mental focus, making sure that they take care of everything 365 days a year, truly focused. It was interesting, last year, this past summer in California, there was a coach's clinic going on, and they're trying to go ahead and bring in Coach Harris to give a talk. He said, I can't make it. I got to spend time with my team. They said, it's just a one-day clinic. He said, I cannot afford to do that one day off for my team. That's the kind of focus you need.
We just saw number 182, Sarah Andrews, moving into the front. The white singlet. There she is. She's in the white shorts.
There appears to be also Eleanor Fulton on the left, number 58, also in that lead pack.
Kathleen Stevens in Blacksburg is right up there as well.
And you can see right there roughly about a good 15 girls within about 2.5, 3 seconds, so very close together.
And it's Joanna Stevens right alongside her sister.
Once again, it is Sarah Andrews from Texas, and she likes this firm portion of this course right here, trying to make a bit of a move as they come down this home straight on this horse racetrack. And up ahead is that, once again, the East Bay.
Yeah, Blacksburg has both Kathleen and Joanna Stevens. They were 1-2 in the southeast region, making their presence felt.
This is really the first big break that we've seen up front in the race where it's starting to form into a group at least.
And we see the difference the second time around over the hay bales with these athletes also. Second time around the second circuit, they're much more fatigued. They're having a bit harder time. In that boys race, these hay bales are fairly close together, and that can hurt some of these taller boys. Albuquerque Academy, 3 guys in the roster, 6'5" or taller.
No, exactly. And Rebecca Mehra from California, she's had a really nice season, Rich.
She definitely has. She's extremely tough for an underclassman. Only a sophomore. She's put together some very good races where she was top competition until the key part of the race, and she's making a move with control and just totally take off. You know, and seeing her several times this year, her mental toughness, I definitely think she is a star of the future, and we're talking about post-collegiately.
Well, that's the other thing, Dave. You know, some of these kids will go through their high school experience, but people mature at different times in their life. And you're going to have some kids here who we don't really talk anything about who will rise in the next 4 years of their life as they grow into their body.
Well, a lot of people you see, like, it's kind of, you know, with a lot of women, you'll see them maybe mature earlier, and then sometimes they go through, like Kara Goucher, for instance. She was never PR'd in high school after her freshman year, and then all of a sudden now she's one of the best runners in the world.
Well, look at Katie Flood, second in NXN in 07, goes through a 4.5-inch growth spurt in her junior year, and literally, even though she qualified, she just felt she couldn't run because her knees were dealing with that growth.
Well, that's part of the thing about running. It's resilience, too, and coming back from those things. And I think that when you have people who are off for an entire year, they are going to have a lot of motivation when they get back.
Here's our 3K split, Rich. Manlius and Kinetic still 1-2, but now Fort Collins has moved into third. And at least Manlius, they're over 100 points.
Yeah, definitely that slowly but surely that score is mushrooming as these teams right here are trying to hold on and move up. You see some interchange now. The local team, Jesuit High, Portland, XC up to 7th. Actually now 8th as we have more of our complete scoring crews come in. But Fort Collins, we see them in 3rd.
But still, look, here's Caitlin Hennenberg, number 130 out of Pikes Peak.
And now one of the teams that we've seen move up into that lead pack now in 5th is Rocky River Magnificat. And that was a team that, you know, just to be very blunt about it, kind of folded last year at this big meet when they came in with some very high credentials. And this year, they're holding together much, much better.
Here's the Manlius 3K split with 107, Kinetic 278, Fort Collins 343, the New Hole, the top California team, second last year. Always looking to make that breakthrough, but I think John Ayers talked about it in our preview, is that, you know, just the conditions and the competition. I mean, the Mount Sac course and Clovis, courses like this are speed courses, and it's not heavy footing, and it's really solid ground. It's just a different type of running.
Right, but the fact remains, though, Manlius, whatever type of course you have out there, Manlius is the clear superior team. I mean, we had the Yankees in baseball in the 70s, we had the Lakers in the 80s, you know, we had out in Saratoga Springs in cross country
the Celtics too. I said the Boston boy. But now the sun has come out full, which is nice, casting shadows for our cameraman, but it's still very close up there in front.
And then in the center of your screen, wearing the South jersey, that is Sarah Andrews, now basically allowing others to do the work, trying to hold on. She actually looks still fairly good.
She's closest to the camera there, Katie Flood in front. Again, looking to return. That's interesting. The last 2 years, second place finishers are now 1-2 at NXN 2009. But again, they're all sort of holding their fire. They're keeping their powder dry, David.
Yeah, Sarah Andrews looks like she's sitting right off the shoulder there, and she's you know, she was pressing it a little bit earlier on, but she's kind of sat back a little bit too as one of the pre-race favorites. She's kind of you know, laid off from the heavy pushing anyway.
And this is great to see because there was a lot of discussion last night with some of the elite Nike athletes talking to these individuals once again about this is the toughest field you'll face. When you begin to feel bad in that race, that's when the outcome will be determined. And a lot of these girls are hanging tough. If you look at that lead pack of some real household names this year nationally, not too far behind are several runners too. So a lot of kids on their way to big breakthrough races.
And Sarah Andrews, of course, said she really got an advantage racing against Chelsea Svensson, who was the NXN's champion last year, also from the South region. And again, like Dathan was saying, she's so good, she doesn't have everyone else really to train with or compete against, and yet there's Chelsea Svensson injured, so she can't defend her title. But she gives him somebody, and that helps. She gives her confidence, and she's displaying it out there on the field right now.
Well, that's one of the nice things with the regionals, too, now, is they get more chances to race other good people before they get here, whereas sometimes if you didn't get to one of those big individual races, maybe you wouldn't have been able to brush up against really deep competition.
Very big, tight women's pack. Katie Flood, 34. out of Des Moines Cross Country, and Sarah Andrews, the South champion from the Woodlands, even though here as an individual, is getting the job done. We've got 5 runners through Manlius at 4K.
So Andrews, Flood, Mehra, Stevens, and Johnson all in that lead pack, coming across that 14:27 on that 4K split.
It's setting up to be a very good finish again, just like the men's race. A lot of people there for the finish.
Yeah, it's whoever's got that speed at the end, it's going to make it happen. So the Stevens twins, we saw the Rosa twins, on the boys' side, and it's the Stevens twins from Blacksburg on the girls' side. And again, you're talking about somebody to run with. No better than your twin.
That's right.
Or sometimes they'll say no worse than your twin.
Andrews, Flood, Mehra, Stevens, and Johnson. But Manlius by itself, they got 129 through 7 runners through 4K. Kinetic, 295 holding solid in second place. They have a 26-point advantage over Fort Collins Cross Country, who's in third. Newhall falling back to 4th place, and they've got about 47 points to make up. Rocky River in 5th place through 5. They've got 5 runners in. Then Clifton Park, an at-large squad out of New York. Then the hometown Portland crowd, they got 7 runners through. So a very small erosion from 66 points at 1K up to 129. And last year, Manlius, Rich, of course, scored 66 to win it. Their first year, they won it. The next year, it was 83. And then last year, it was 66. This year, they're leading with 129. But again, we've got to tease out the individuals before those final results come in. But it was so close in the boys' race. But barring disaster, we already know that Manlius is going to do this forfeit.
Right. What you're seeing on the screen right now, on your screen at home, these are actual raw scores. It includes individuals, so these scores will plummet once we get the actual team scores at the end of the race.
But it'd have to plummet a lot for somebody to jump on top of Manlius.
Right. I mean, probably for everybody, but Manlius is going to be well below 100 points in the official results at this point.
17 minutes and 11 seconds on the clock. And right now, it's Kathleen Stevenson. And here comes Katie Flood trying to answer that surge. This is just like the boys' race.
Another great stretch run right here.
Flood's not giving it in. Stevens not giving an inch.
Oh, this is a great finish.
Shoulder to shoulder. Flood with just a body width advantage. She goes hard. Kathleen Stevens, Southeast Region champion. Flood has now got it. She opens up the winning margin with only 20 meters left and hits the line in 17:47, NXN champion.
That's Rebecca Mehra of California in third. Good finish, number 33 in fourth. That would be Ashley Decker.
Get you down here and get you tagged up.
And here come the gold uniforms of Manlius.
Joanna Stevens, sister of Kathleen Stevens, also right there in the top 10. Here's a Portland top runner.
Looks like now 3 for Manlius in the chute.
Number 92, Katie Sisko, just coming across. 87, Courtney Chapman, really not really the day that she had, but she was a little bit under the weather, I think, for the New York State meet as well.
She was. Now all 5 girls from Manlius are now in the chute. All 5 appear to be in the top 25, so there's another very dominant performance.
There's Mackenzie Carter, the 6th runner across, the senior from Manlius, in her 4th qualifying at Nike Cross Nationals. So 6 in already before anyone's 4th, really.
Come on, go!
And there's number 89 coming across. That's Hannah Luber we talked to earlier in her 3rd. So all 7 are now in under 18:45 for the great team from Manlius. There's a kinetic runner, number 68. That's Sydney King. She was 80th last year. She's a junior out of Kinetic, out of Saratoga. Amanda Moreland, who was the 4th New York Independent individual qualifier, just crosses the line. Number 9 out of Blacksburg, Leah Fitchett. She's a senior, and she's completed her high school cross-country career here in Portland Meadows.
So we know it's Manlius on top, and that last check, it looks to be, once again, the New York teams, 1, 2, 3. We'll see if that holds up. Those teams are traditionally very, very tough down the stretch in the race. They know how to close the door.
I don't know. That was awesome. I saw you guys.
Here's
You guys made me
a
keep
young
going.
lady from Kingwood.
Love you.
That's Laura Craig. She's only a sophomore at Kingwood Cross Country. They were 22nd as a team last year, 16th in 05, and second in the regional in the South in 09. Just crossing 20 minutes on the clock. Pretty definitive Manlius victory here. 4 in a row for the team led by Bill and John Harris. So that looks like the tradition's going to continue for the next generation and the athletes and the coaching as well. Number 159 just crosses the finish line there. That's Carolyn Wynn from Adirondack, 84th in 08. She's a junior. And again, the Adirondack team really ran strong, and that's with their top runner, Danielle Winslow, being injured through a major part of this year. Even though she ran, you could tell the times that she ran on the courses this year didn't compare with last year. It had to do with just not being at the full fitness.
Right, and so we saw those raw scores escalating kilometer to kilometer for Manlius. The reason being is as we went deeper into the race, those top individuals began to move up to inflate that raw score. But the team score, once you pull those individuals out, you're going to see a plummet, and we're going to see if Manlius will score below 70, below 60, maybe below 50. Just incredible.
Right.